The last thing Marcus Cole remembered about that road in Fallujah was the color of the dust. Not the sound, not the heat, just the dust, pale and soft, the way it settled over everything, like the world was trying to cover something it didn't want anyone to see. He had been in the passenger seat, convoy moving, orders clear, and on the side of that road, half collapsed against a broken wall, was a boy, maybe 12, maybe younger, eyes open, hand raised. Marcus had seen him, and the convoy kept moving. 3 hours later, word came back through radio chatter, quiet, almost casual, that a child had been found on that road, unresponsive, too late for anything. Marcus never spoke about it, not to his commanding officer, not to his wife before she left, not to the therapist the VA assigned him for 6 sessions before the funding ran out. He just carried it, the way you carry something too heavy to put down and too shameful to ask for help with. Welcome back to State of Valor. The rain that night was the kind that didn't announce itself. No thunder, no wind, just a slow, relentless falling, the kind that soaks through before you realize it's happening. Marcus was driving home on Route 9, windows fogged slightly, heater running low because he kept forgetting to get it fixed. Emma was already asleep at his mother's house. He'd pick her up in the morning. Tonight was just the drive, the dark, and the quiet he'd learned to mistake for peace. He almost missed her entirely. The bus stop was set back slightly from the road, a small metal shelter with a flickering overhead light that buzzed and died every few seconds. In that unsteady light, she looked almost like a shadow, a young woman, sitting completely still, soaked through her jacket, head slightly down, a white cane resting across her knees. She wasn't the only person who had passed through that stop tonight. 2 men had walked by earlier, close enough to see her, close enough that she had turned her face toward their footsteps and opened her mouth slightly, almost asking. They had kept walking, one of them glancing back once before looking away. A woman in a yellow raincoat had slowed for just a moment, then pulled her umbrella lower and moved on. A teenager on a bicycle had ridden past without slowing at all. Each time, Lily had closed her mouth again, folded her hands back over her cane, and waited. She had stopped asking around the 7th hour. Marcus's eyes caught her for less than a second. He kept driving. The windshield wipers moved, the rain continued, the road ahead was empty and straight and easy. 40 feet. His hands tightened on the wheel, not from tension, but from something older than tension, something that lived below thought, below training, in the part of a man that remembers what it felt like to make the wrong choice and never fully recover from it. His breathing changed. The dust in Fallujah, the boy with his hand raised. Marcus exhaled, slow, almost painful, and turned the car around. He pulled up slowly, keeping the headlights low. He didn't want to startle her. He sat for a moment with the engine running, watching her through the rain-blurred windshield. She hadn't moved, hadn't looked up at the sound of the car. Her hands were folded in her lap over the cane, and she was shivering, not dramatically, not in a way that would make someone stop from a distance, just that small, constant trembling of a body that has been cold for too long. Marcus got out. He walked toward her slowly, and when he was a few feet away, he stopped. "Excuse me," he said quietly. "You doing all right?" She didn't flinch. She turned her face in the direction of his voice with the careful precision of someone who had learned to navigate the world through sound alone. She was young, mid-20s maybe, dark hair plastered flat against her face from the rain, eyes that looked slightly past him, not vacant, but aimed at a world only she could orient herself within. She was quiet for a moment, Then she asked, in a voice so soft and tired it barely carried over the rain, "Is it still raining?" Marcus felt something move in his chest.
Not pity. Something older than that. Something that understood, without needing explanation, what it meant to ask a question like that. Not because you didn't know the answer, but because you'd been sitting alone long enough that even the obvious things started to feel uncertain. "Yeah," he said gently. "It is." She nodded once, like she'd already known, like she just needed to hear a human voice confirm it. He crouched down slowly so he wasn't standing over her. "How long have you been out here?" She thought about it, actually thought about it, as though she'd lost track. "Since 4, I think." It was past 9. "Is someone coming for you?" A pause, small but heavy. "They said someone would." Marcus looked down the empty road in both directions. There was nothing. No headlights, no sound except the flickering buzz of the broken shelter light. "My name's Marcus," he said. "Lily," she replied. He learned it slowly, the way these things come out, not in a rush, but in small pieces, offered carefully, the way someone speaks when they're not used to being listened to. Her name was Lily Ashford, 24 years old, blind since the age of 7, a degenerative condition that had taken her sight gradually, then completely, before she'd finished elementary school. She lived with her mother and her mother's husband on the east side of town. They had driven her to a doctor's appointment that afternoon, told her to wait at the bus stop after, told her someone would come. Her mother had called once around 6. The conversation had been brief, tired, her mother's voice carrying that particular flatness of someone who has made a decision they don't want to defend. She used the word burden, not in anger, not even in cruelty, just flatly, casually. The way you use a word you've said so many times inside your own head that you forget it still has the power to destroy the person hearing it the first time out loud.
Lily had said nothing after that, just held the phone against her ear for a few seconds after the call ended, the rain falling around her, that single word settling over everything the way Marcus's dust settled over Fallujah, covering things, trying to make them disappear. She hadn't called back. She just sat, cane across her knees, waiting for something she'd stopped believing would come. "I stopped asking people for help a long time ago," she said quietly. "They usually just walk faster." Marcus said nothing for a moment. The rain filled the silence. "I almost drove past you," he said. He didn't know why he told her that. It just came out, honest, uncomfortable. Lily turned her face toward him. "But you did." "No. Then that's what matters." He took her home. There was no dramatic decision, no long deliberation. The choice settled over him the same way the guilt had, quietly, completely, without asking permission. He couldn't leave her there. Whatever came after that was a problem for later. His house was small, clean in the functional way of a man who had learned to maintain order as a substitute for peace. He guided her through the front door carefully, narrating as he went, 3 steps up, slight lip on the threshold, coat hooks to the left. She moved through the space with a focused stillness that struck him, one hand light on his arm, listening, memorizing. He made soup because it was the only thing he knew how to make properly. She sat at the kitchen table with both hands wrapped around the bowl for warmth before she'd even picked up the spoon, and something about that image, the simple human need for warmth, sat with him long after she'd finished eating. Emma arrived the next morning in her grandmother's car with her backpack half unzipped and a question already forming before she'd reached the front door. She stopped when she saw Lily sitting at the kitchen table, hands around a coffee mug, head tilted slightly toward the window where morning light was coming through. Emma looked at her father. Marcus gave a small nod, the kind that said, "Be gentle, be yourself." Emma set her backpack down carefully, walked to the table, pulled out the chair across from Lily without scraping it, instinctively quiet. "I'm Emma," she said.
Lily smiled, a real one, the kind that starts slow. "I'm Lily. Can you see anything at all?" Marcus started. "It's okay," Lily said. "No, nothing." Emma considered this with the honest gravity of a 9-year-old who doesn't yet know she's supposed to be uncomfortable. "Does it feel like having your eyes closed, or different?" "Different," Lily said. "It's just the world, but quieter. You notice other things instead." Emma nodded like this made complete sense. Then she got up, went to the counter, and poured a second cup of coffee. She carried it to Lily and placed it beside the first, and then, without saying a word, she moved Lily's right hand to the handle of the new cup so she'd know where it was. No announcement, no performance. Just a child seeing what someone needed and providing it. Marcus had to look away. The days that followed moved slowly, not uncomfortably, slowly the way things move when people are being careful with each other. Emma rearranged nothing without telling Lily first. She learned quickly which objects Lily tracked by memory, the edge of the counter, the second step that creaked, the position of her shoes by the door, and she protected those anchor points with quiet seriousness. One evening, Marcus came in from the garage to find Emma walking Lily through the hallway with both of them counting steps aloud together and laughing about something he'd missed the beginning of. He stood in the doorway and did not move for a long moment. That night, after Lily had gone to the guest room and Emma was supposed to be asleep, he heard small footsteps in the hall. Emma appeared in his doorway in her pajamas, her hair messy. "Daddy," she said, "you always told me Marines don't leave people behind." "That's right." "Then why did everyone leave her?" Marcus was quiet. "She didn't do anything wrong," Emma said. Not accusing, just genuinely confused in the way children are genuinely confused when the world doesn't match what adults have taught them.
He had no answer, because there wasn't one, and because for the first time since he'd turned that car around, he understood fully how close he had come to being part of that same long line of people who kept moving. "Go to sleep, Bug," he said softly. She went, but the question stayed. It was past midnight, maybe a week in, when he found Lily sitting on the back porch steps. He'd gotten up for water and seen the back door slightly open. He sat beside her without asking. The night was cold, but dry for once. After a while, she said, "You don't sleep much." "No. Me neither." A pause. Too quiet in the dark when you can't turn on a light. He understood that. The specific cruelty of silence when the mind won't rest. They sat for a while without talking. Then Lily said quietly, "Why did you come back for me that night? You could have kept going. Most people do." Marcus looked at his hands. The question had been waiting, and they both knew it. "Because I didn't," he said slowly, "once before." She waited. "There was a boy," he said, "on a road, a long time ago. I was in a convoy. We had orders. I saw him, and I kept moving. And later," he stopped. His hands were not steady. "Later, I found out he didn't make it." The words came out stripped of everything, no defense, no context, no attempt to explain it away, just the plain, terrible truth of it, spoken aloud, for the very first time, to another human being. Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Marcus," she said gently, "you came back this time. Doesn't fix the other time." "No," she agreed, "it doesn't." She turned her face toward him in that precise way she had, aimed just slightly past his eyes. Something in his chest shifted, not dramatically, not all at once, just shifted, like a door that had been closed for so long you forgot it could open. He didn't cry, he just breathed. For the first time in years, he just breathed. The call came from a social worker on a Thursday afternoon, an independent living placement, a supported housing facility 20 minutes away, designed specifically for visually impaired adults. Private room, trained staff, real independence, everything Lily deserved. She said yes. She had to, they all knew that. But the days before she left moved differently, slower. Everyone felt it without saying it. Emma started spending more time just sitting beside Lily, not doing anything, just near her, reading while Lily listened to her audiobook. Quiet company. The morning Lily left, Emma made her a playlist, sat beside her on the couch and described every song choice and why she'd picked it. This one because it's slow and good for mornings. This one because it makes me feel brave when I'm not. Lily listened with her hands folded in her lap and her eyes slightly down and did not speak until Emma finished. Then she said, "You're going to be remarkable. You already are." Emma pressed her face into Lily's shoulder and stayed there. Marcus carried Lily's bag to the car. He came back to find them still on the couch, and he stood in the hallway and let them have that moment completely. When it was time, Lily stood at the front door. She reached out her hand and found the door frame, and then turned back toward the house one last time, not looking, but facing it, taking it in through whatever sense she used for things like this. "You didn't just help me," she said. Her voice was steady, but only just. "You reminded me I still matter." Marcus tried to answer. He didn't quite make it. He cleared his throat once and settled for, "You always did." She nodded, stepped off the porch. He watched her walk to the car, straight, measured, unhurried, not the walk of someone being saved, the walk of someone who had decided to stand. The house was quiet after she left, but not the old quiet, not the hollow, sealed-off silence Marcus had lived inside for years. This was different. This was the quiet of a space that had held something real and still carried the warmth of it. That afternoon, Marcus called the VA, asked about a counselor, got an appointment for the following Tuesday. It wasn't much. It wasn't everything. But it was the first time he'd made that call without someone telling him he had to. Emma found him at the kitchen table that evening and climbed into the chair beside him the way she used to when she was smaller. "Are you okay, Daddy?" He looked at his daughter, her steady eyes, her serious face, her 9-year-old certainty that the world should be kind and that people should stop for each other, and he felt something he hadn't felt in longer than he could name. Not fixed, not healed, not whole, but present, actually fully present. "Getting there, Bug," he said, and for the first time in years, he meant it. Some wounds don't bleed. Some of the bravest things a person can do have nothing to do with a battlefield. They happen on a rainy road at 9 o'clock at night, 40 feet past the moment you almost kept going. Marcus Cole didn't save Lily Ashford. They saved each other, and it started the moment he chose to turn around. If this story moved you, subscribe to State of Valor. Every week, we tell the stories that remind us what it means to be human. This story speaks to something deeply real, the moral injury that veterans carry silently long after service ends, the invisible pain of those living with disability who are made to feel like burdens by the people closest to them, and the profound truth that a single act of ordinary kindness, chosen freely in a moment of private struggle, can begin healing that years of survival could not. It is a reminder that courage is not always loud, and that the people we almost walk past are sometimes the ones who save us.
This story carries quiet but lasting lessons. It reflects the real psychological wounds that millions of veterans carry silently long after service ends. Moral injury that never appears on medical charts, but shapes every single day of a man's life. It speaks to the invisible pain of those living with disability, who are made to feel like burdens by the people closest to them, slowly conditioned to stop asking for help and to expect nothing from strangers. It shows that a single moment of chosen kindness, not heroism, not training, just one human decision, can redirect two broken lives toward healing. It reminds us that children often see human need more clearly and more honestly than adults do, and that compassion is instinctive when we stop letting fear or indifference override it. It tells the truth that unspoken guilt compounds in silence, and that healing almost always begins the moment someone finally speaks their shame aloud to another person who chooses not to judge them. And it redefines courage, not as something that happens on a battlefield, but as something that happens in small, private moments when it would be far easier to keep driving. This story teaches lessons in courage, loyalty, and understanding the sacrifices of those who serve. It reminds us that the people we almost ignore can become the ones who save us, and that sometimes the road you almost didn't take becomes the one that leads you back to yourself.